Throughout history, few stories are as powerful as the stories of the apostles who traveled with Jesus. These regular men, touched by God, gave their lives to sharing a message of love, forgiveness and salvation. But their mission had a high price. Most faced trouble, jail, and in the end, death for their beliefs. These stories passed down to us show us amazing faith and strength. Simon Peter, the fisherman Jesus called the Rock, was a man of strong faith, but also human weakness. He was a simple man, a fisherman by trade, who left everything to follow Jesus. His journey was one of profound transformation, from a humble beginning to becoming a cornerstone of the early Christian church. We remember how he denied knowing Jesus and his tears of regret. This moment of weakness showed his humanity, but it also set the stage for his redemption. His remorse was deep, and it marked a turning point in his life, leading him to a path of unwavering faith and dedication. But his deep love for Jesus led him to suffer. Despite his earlier denial, Peter's faith grew stronger. He faced many trials and tribulations, including imprisonment and persecution. His prayers were fervent, and his commitment to spreading Jesus' teachings never wavered. Stories say Peter's journey ended in Rome when Nero was emperor. It was a time of great turmoil and danger for Christians. Peter's presence in Rome was significant as he continued to lead and inspire the early Christian community despite the risks. Christians were being hurt, and Peter, a leader, was a main target. The persecution was intense, and many Christians were forced to practice their faith in secrecy. Peter's leadership was crucial during these dark times, providing hope and strength to the persecuted believers. Sentenced to death on a cross, Peter asked to be crucified upside down, feeling he wasn't good enough to die like Jesus. This act of humility and devotion highlighted his deep reverence for Jesus. His request was granted, and he faced his death with courage and faith. His death, a terrible sight, inspired other Christians, making them even stronger. The sight of Peter's crucifixion was a powerful testament to his faith. It moved many to reflect on their own beliefs and strengthened the resolve of the early Christian community. Peter's death for his faith became a light of hope in dark times. His legacy lived on, inspiring countless others to hold steadfast in their faith. The memory of his sacrifice provided a beacon of hope and courage for generations to come. Andrew, Peter's brother, shared his faith and also met a terrible end. He was one of the first disciples called by Jesus and was known for his missionary work. His dedication to spreading the teachings of Christ was unwavering, even in the face of great danger. In Patras, Greece, Andrew spread the good news, but people fought against him and he was arrested. Despite the opposition, he continued to preach and convert many to Christianity. His efforts in Patras were significant, but they also led to his capture by those who opposed his message. His cross was shaped like an X, now called the St. Andrew's Cross. This unique form of crucifixion was chosen to prolong his suffering, yet Andrew embraced his fate with remarkable courage and faith. For 2 days he hung on that cross, talking about love and salvation. His words were filled with compassion and hope, even as he endured unimaginable pain. He used his final moments to inspire those around him, speaking of forgiveness and eternal life. Even in pain, Andrew's message was one of hope and strength. His resilience in the face of such torment was a testament to his unwavering faith and his belief in the power of love and redemption. His death for his faith inspired many people, showing how faith can be stronger than pain. Andrew's martyrdom became a powerful symbol of the strength and endurance of the Christian faith, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to inspire believers to this day. James, son of Zebedee, was a fisherman Jesus called to follow him. He was mending his nets by the Sea of Galilee when Jesus approached him and his brother John, saying, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Without hesitation, they left their boat and their father to follow Jesus, embarking on a journey that would change their lives forever. James witnessed many pivotal moments in Jesus' ministry. He saw the Transfiguration, where Jesus' divine nature was revealed in a radiant display of glory. He was also present at Gethsemane, where Jesus prayed fervently before his arrest, showing his human vulnerability and divine mission. These experiences deepened James's faith and commitment. His love for the Lord led him to endure great hardships. James's faith was tested through trials and tribulations, but he remained steadfast. He prayed earnestly, seeking strength and guidance from God, and his unwavering devotion became an inspiration to many early Christians who faced persecution. In the Bible, King Herod Agrippa started hurting the church. He sought to suppress the growing Christian movement, seeing it as a threat to his power. Herod's actions led to widespread fear and suffering among the early believers, but they also strengthened their resolve and unity. James was one of the first victims, his death quick and brutal by a sword. He was executed on Herod's orders, becoming the first of the apostles to be martyred. His swift end was a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who followed Christ, yet it also highlighted the depth of their faith and courage. He was the first of the 12 apostles to be killed for his faith, a sad sign of what was to come for the others. James's martyrdom foreshadowed the trials that awaited the remaining apostles, many of whom would also face persecution and death for their unwavering belief in Jesus. James's sacrifice ignited a fire in early Christians, making them stronger. His death was not in vain. It inspired the early Christian community to stand firm in their faith, to gather in prayer, and to support one another through the trials they faced. His legacy lived on, encouraging countless others to remain steadfast in their devotion to Christ. John, the apostle Jesus loved, faced a different kind of suffering, being sent away. After being hurt in Rome, John was sent to the island of Patmos. Alone there, he received his greatest vision, writing the book of Revelation. John's exile shows us that suffering can happen in many ways. Even when alone, we can find comfort in God. Philip, excited to share the good news, took the message of Christ to Phrygia. His work met resistance, and the stories of his death are different. Some say he was crucified, others say he was stoned to death. No matter how he died, Philip's death reminds us of the dangers faced by early missionaries. He went into dangerous places, armed with faith and a message of love. Bartholomew, at first unsure about Jesus, became a devoted follower. His missionary travels took him to India and Armenia. In Armenia, his preaching made leaders angry, leading to his brutal death by being skinned alive. Every painful moment showed his strong faith. Bartholomew's death reminds us of the cruelty faced by early Christians. His faith survived unbelievable suffering, inspiring many people. Matthew, the tax collector who became an apostle, is best known for the gospel he wrote. His missionary work took him to many places, including Ethiopia. Stories say he was killed with a sword. Matthew faced his killers with bravery and calm. His death showed what it meant to be a disciple. Matthew's work continued to help people through his gospel. Thomas, known as Doubting Thomas, became a strong believer. He traveled to India sharing the good news. His work created a group of believers. Thomas faced resistance, and stories of his death are different. Some say he was stabbed with spears, others say he was thrown into a pit. Thomas's death reminds us of the risks taken by early missionaries. James the Less, a quiet leader, was important in the early church. His leadership gave stability during uncertain times. Stories say he was thrown from the temple and stoned. His death was a terrible loss for the early church. James's sacrifice reminds us of the dangers faced by early Christian leaders. Thaddeus, also known as Jude, was passionate about sharing the good news. He traveled to Persia, where he faced resistance. Even with challenges, Thaddeus kept going, spreading hope and salvation. Stories say he was killed, maybe crucified or shot with arrows. His death shows the dangers faced by early Christians. Thaddeus's faith inspired others, even when facing violence. Simon the Zealot, a man of strong feelings, changed from a radical to a follower of Jesus. His travels took him to Egypt and Persia. Stories say he was killed, maybe sawed in half or crucified. Simon's story shows us the power of change. His past helped him with the challenges of sharing the good news. Simon's faith stayed strong, inspiring others to accept the message of peace. Matthias, chosen to replace Judas Iscariot, took his role seriously. He spread the gospel bravely, facing persecution. Stories say he was killed, possibly stoned or crucified. Matthias's sacrifice reminds us of the dangers faced by early Christians. His faith and dedication inspired others to follow Jesus. Paul, originally Saul of Tarsus, changed from someone who hurt Christians to an apostle. He spread the good news beyond the Jewish community, breaking down walls. Paul's letters became important parts of Christian teaching. His work was always dangerous, but he kept going. Stories say Paul was beheaded in Rome. Paul's faith and strength inspired many. The apostles' stories show us the lasting power of faith. Their sacrifices helped Christianity spread. Their courage and strength continue to inspire. The deaths of these faithful people helped the church grow. Their legacy continues, giving hope and meaning to many people.